Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, a challenge for Tuberville. Also, President Trump is all in for John Wahl. And Mo Brooks wants to be elected one more time.
A scientist named Frankenstein made a monster by sewing together parts of old dead bodies. Frankenstein gave the monster eternal life by shooting it full of electricity.
I hope that Frankenstein monster doesn't rise from the dead. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, one of the funniest guys I know, investigative reporter and columnist at APR, and we're still cracking up. Welcome.
Listen, I'll tell you this, I'm well lit over here. I am well lit, and I don't mean from drinking. So got the camera angles right. We're all ready to roll.
And you don't have a idea or a halo either.
No.
If people only knew.
Anyway, that was pretty funny. I tell you some things that are going on that if they weren't so bad for our states would be laughable. Now, we covered some of this last week, but Josh, you wrote about it in detail over the last week or this very past week. And it's about this what is called a quo warranto case, which means, in plain English, who gave you the authority to do this? And so this applies to Tommy Tuberville and his residency challenge. And the fact is that now we understand from your reporting and talking to legal scholars that this quo warranto is going to open up Tommy Tuberville to a whole can of worms, and it's going to drag this case in front of the courts. And while they may not get to the end of it, it's going to expose a lot that we have questions about.
Yeah, I'll be honest and tell you that this kind of surprised me as well when I first heard about this, because I was under the assumption that there were basically two challenges to Tommy Tuberville's residency and being on the ballot. One was going to come with the Republican Party that's already been filed by Ken McPheeters, and then there was going to be another one that was filed after, should he win, that they would be filed to try to remove him through the legislature, which I think everybody knows both of those is going to be an uphill battle. And so, but I talked to some attorneys, and I don't think anybody would be surprised to know that I didn't come up with this idea of the quo warranto challenge on my own, and that I spoke with some attorneys who were telling me about this. And there is this step that's in between those, that once he becomes the official nominee of the party, Tommy Tuberville becomes basically a quasi-state official at that point, and he is beholden to the laws of the state. And so they can challenge him in court based on his residency and whether or not he meets the residency requirements under Alabama law, which is the previous 7 years. He has to have lived in the state or been a resident citizen of the state for the 7 years immediately previous to the election for which he's running. That's the status for governor and for lieutenant governor as well. And so, that's going to go into this. And I think, look, most people say, well, there's no way that thing's going to make it through court in that amount of time, because you're only going to have from May until November to get this thing settled. And that's probably true. But what can happen and what will happen is that they're going to start this, and they're going to start going through the discovery phase. And the people who are challenging this and who are going to file the challenge, and we've had a number of people offer to file it already.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
an avalanche of people, actually.
Our phones were blowing up, text messages, emails.
And hey, a lot of those people are Republicans, And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, they are.
it's really been interesting. But so they're going to file this, and they're going to start the discovery process, and they're going to ask for his tax returns,
Yep.
and they're going to ask for some other documents that he's used to show which address he's put on those documents, whether or not he has filed them and said his main address is that home in Florida in Santa Rosa Beach or the home in Auburn that he has claimed. And if that is the case, that he's used that he doesn't have the tax returns and stuff, that's then going to become public knowledge, and I think that's a big problem.
And Susan, it would be very simple for Tommy Tuberville to release his tax returns. And if I were Doug Jones, and I'm not advising him at all, but Doug Jones ought to release his tax returns from Alabama and say, no, Tuberville, put up or get out of the dang race, or as my old pap used to say, put up or shut up.
Exactly. Well, if he had them, he'd already produced them to stop all this nonsense. Everybody knows that, because we're not asking to see what your income was. We're asking for redacted statements that simply show your address, or that you even filed. I don't care where you lived in Alabama, just that you filed an Alabama tax
Right.
return. You don't have to file one in Florida because
Right.
they don't have a state tax, and he can't even produce those. So I really believe if he had them, they would already have been released.
It would settle the issue once and for all. If you paid your taxes in Alabama, then we're going to kind of accept that you live in a modest house in Auburn that no one's ever seen you going to except during baseball games.
Right.
I mean, football games.
Right.
Or you live in a $4 million mansion that you told ESPN you moved into, and that was your home. I mean,
Yeah.
who are we going to believe?
Listen, I'll say this too, and I want people to understand that I'm not trying to send anybody to jail here, okay,
No.
or trying to threaten anybody or anything else. But there's another issue at play here, okay? And the other issue is if that is in fact the case, and these tax returns come out, and it shows that Tuberville was claiming state taxes in the state of Florida.
Yep.
Well, you're going to have an issue then with where he voted in those years, because
Yep.
if he didn't vote in the state of Florida and he voted in Alabama, then I think he's going to have to answer some questions. Not only him, but him and his wife are going to have to answer some questions about that. And I say that from some experience, and the experience is having gone through the David Cole issue up
Yeah.
in North Alabama when he was a state rep, and he ended up spending some time in jail because it wasn't the residency issue that got him; it was the voter fraud issue that got him.
Right.
That put him in jail and got him out of office before they ever had a chance to go through all the other portions of this.
Because you cannot not file your taxes in Florida and vote in another state. Or,
That's right.
and I think there's a statute down there, but I'd have to check it, where your driver's license better match your residency if you're claiming that you're not paying taxes. I'd
I
have
would
to
bet.
check that one, but I do think there is some.
I would bet it does.
Some provision like that. In other words, you can't claim to live in Alabama, file your taxes in Florida, so that you don't have to pay taxes in Alabama.
Right.
Right, and you
And
can't,
listen, I'm
you
not
can't live
saying
in
he
Florida
did it.
with an Alabama driver's
I'm not
license.
saying he did it
and-
either. I'm just saying
I'm not saying
if
he did that. I'm just
If
saying
he
that
did.
just from that experience of the Cole issue. Because honest to God, when I first started reporting on David Cole and what was going on there, I never in a million years imagined it was going to turn into a voter fraud issue at all. And so now it's just something that I'm kind of aware of, and so I've noticed it in this case as well, where if you have this issue and you voted in these elections in these different places, well, you're looking at kind of state and federal problems at that point. And I'm not sure what the penalties are or what the charges are at all. But
And I don't care if Beelzebub is running, as long as he's got residency in Alabama. And by the way,
following the law.
By the way things are going lately, I think he's moved in. But anyway, we're going to leave it right there. You're watching the V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, of course, John Wahl, who has been chairman of the Alabama Republican Party here in Alabama since 2021. He was vice president before that. He received President Donald Trump's endorsement to run for lieutenant governor last week. In between the endorsement and this past Friday, John Wahl raised $1 million, that's $1 million for the lieutenant governor's race, and that is in under a week. Now, obviously there were people waiting in the wings for him to declare, but, and we know that President Trump likes John Wahl a lot, and they are on friendly terms. So with that type of friendliness usually comes a lot of money, as long as it's going to be good for Trump in the long run, right, Josh? But go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, I mean, he did raise that. It's not shocking at all. I mean, Trump's endorsements kind of came out like bullets, where, you got the Barry Moore endorsement, and then not too long after that was the John Wahl endorsement. So I don't know that these weren't kind of already cooked in the pie with the donors sitting behind him waiting for Trump to actually make the endorsement. But wow, I mean, that endorsement hit Montgomery like an asteroid. I mean, it's just boom.
Yeah, and I tell you, Wes Allen's campaign, and you can't hardly blame him, Josh, has gone full tilt negative. I mean, they're like the Terminator, just coming after you with everything they got.
Yeah, they were. Well, first of all, I need to say, Susan mentioned that there were bullets coming out there, and you don't want to bring a gun to any sort of thing like this, okay? It's against the law now in America.
Yeah.
And also, did you say $1 million? That was nice. It was a surprise, I think, to a lot of people that John Wahl was able to get this endorsement from President Trump. I think Tommy Tuberville probably had a little bit to do with that. And I think the money from certain organizations probably had a little bit to do with that as well. And so we'll see if, when they actually file the stuff, where some of the money came from. And it's, but $1 million, no matter where it came from, still spends like $1 million. And so I think they're going to have some trouble. And the biggest problem for Wes Allen and that campaign, and I think the reason why they just went completely scorched earth right out of the gate with a hostage video, was that, this thing is, they were never able to really gain a whole lot of traction before this happened. And we all saw the polling where there were far more undecideds than there were people voting for any of the candidates in there. And now you enter this race with an endorsement from Trump and $1 million, and you got to think that you're automatically way out in front.
Well, the interesting thing is I looked at Wes Allen's campaign finance records, and he's got just a little over $1 million. But he's been raising that over a long period of time. Yeah. Wahl went out and did this in a week.
The one thing I would not count out is our dear friend Angie Horn.
Oh, Lord, no.
Yep.
Because she will burn down your barn, salt your earth, and shoot your dog if she has to.
Oh, listen,
will.
there's
maybe
no
she
doubt.
would, maybe she wouldn't shoot your dog.
No, she wouldn't shoot
No,
your
she
dog.
wouldn't
Right.
shoot your dog.
Yeah, she'd draw the line at the dog. But listen, I
She'd
do
be more
think
likely to
that,
shoot at you.
she might lame it, but I'll say, I will say, in this that Wahl's got a lot of things that he's going to have to answer. There we all know the problems in the story, and I think he knows the problems that he's going to have to answer, and he's going to have to convince people that he's got a normal story out there that people can latch on to and explain some of the things that have happened over the last year or so.
Well, I think he does have a story to tell. About a year ago or so, maybe a little less than a year or so ago, we sat down with him, had lunch, and just a meeting, and got a lot more of his backstory. And I think it's an interesting backstory. I want to move to this next thing because you brought up something that is very, very, very important. After the killing in Minneapolis, Mr. Petty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
Pretty.
Preddy. Mr. Preddy. He had a concealed carry permit. He was carrying a weapon with him to this march. He did not brandish it. He did not do any of the things they lied about him doing. But now the new talking point, Susan, from the GOP is that, well, you should not bring a weapon to a protest like that, because if he hadn't had the gun, this wouldn't have happened. So all of a sudden, the problem is the guns.
Wow.
That's a reversal of everything we've heard and known about Republican orthodoxy. All of a sudden, it's the gun that's the problem?
Thought they kept saying it was the people that were the problem, the people with the guns that were the problem.
In this case, it's the gun.
Oh, so the narrative changes according to
Yes.
which side you want to see it from?
So let me just, if I understand this correctly, it wasn't a gun problem when we shot up hundreds of classrooms in this country, but now it's a gun problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a gun problem. Wasn't a gun problem when the Shoney's mascot killed 2 people at a protest in another state a few years ago. But now it's a gun problem.
Do not bring your gun to a protest. And I want to move to this story, but we can stay on this. What has happened is Alabama is trying to pass a law that as a protester, you cannot wear a mask. Now, we already have a law that you cannot loiter with a mask on, but we selectively used that. I mean, there was a group that went to protest an anti-pride meet or fellowship gathering, whatever it is, and they wore masks, and the police came and did not arrest them for wearing masks, which they could have under the loitering with a mask on law. Josh, finish your point. We only got a few seconds.
We're okay with the law enforcement wearing masks and not identifying themselves and riding around in unmarked cars and basically kidnapping people off the streets. But the people protesting on the street are the ones that you're gonna go after. I got to tell you, I saw the MAGAs give up the First Amendment rights and pull people off the air. I've seen them give up the Fourth Amendment rights and say it was okay to enter somebody's house without a warrant. I've get the 10th Amendment where they've allowed the federal government to take over states and local law enforcement. And I never imagined that they were going to do the Second Amendment. Honestly, I never imagined they were going to so easily give up the Second Amendment in service of Donald Trump and his cult. It's honestly shocking to me.
I got to get this point in. Let's not forget that Trump's heroes on January 6th wore masks.
A lot of more masks. Anyway, let's all get our faces covered or not. I think everybody ought to be seen at the protest, and sure as heck, if you're a law enforcement officer, don't hide. Anyway,
Coward.
You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. You know, I watched Frankenstein movies and vampire movies, zombie movies. And you know, it's just never works out well for the people, and usually doesn't go that good for the zombie or the Frankenstein monster or any of that. But this, we have a resurrection of sorts of one of the most unpopular politicians in the history of the state. He is so weird that Donald Trump called him woke one time. And Mo Brooks is running to return to the State House against a young man who's doing a great job up there in the Huntsville area. But Mo Brooks, Susan, the scourge of Donald Trump for the last, a year and a half, is now saying the people of Huntsville have come together and they gave him $100,000 to run, and that might be a problem too.
That might be a little bit of a problem there. Of course, it's how he phrased it. He said he told them that if they raised $100,000, he'd get in the race. May have a little bit
might
be a little problem with the campaign finance laws there, and that he encouraged people to go out and raise money for him without filing with the Secretary of State. Could be a little problem there, but for the love of God, go home.
I mean, Josh, I guess for Mo, you know, and I'm not disparaging anybody's religion, but at all. But Mo just can't quit. I mean, it's like it's like sex. Some people just can't quit having it, and he just keeps coming back.
I hope he wins. I hope he wins. Listen, and I'll tell you exactly why. I think we all know that Mo Brooks and I don't see eye to eye on most issues. Although I think we have somehow coalesced over the issue of Donald Trump and his awfulness for America. But I hope he wins, and I hope he wins for this reason. It will finally teach the Republicans in this state that they have gone too far with the gerrymandering. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's the only way that he's going to win, that you have so gerrymandered a district in Huntsville, it includes a portion of Huntsville now, that somebody that this far right can win because he can attract the base of the party. And that will, I hope, would finally teach them a lesson that they're going to move out somebody, a reasonable person, as far as I know, with Mr. Lomax there. But you know, not exactly somebody on my side of thinking, but you're going to do it because this base is going to go for Mo Brooks. All right?
Well,
to me, that would be a nice lesson for them to all learn.
And it will be a painful one for 4 years because he will gum up everything they want to do. He is an obstructionist. The only thing in his nearly 50-year career in politics that he has ever done, while he was in Congress at least, was get a post office name. He's not done another darn thing.
Well,
50 years.
Yeah.
Let me help you. Let me help him out a little bit over there and say that I, Josh Moon, fully endorse Mo Brooks' run for the State House. Okay, so that ought to put an end.
That ought to do it.
Well, that if anything will sink his career, that'll do it. Josh Moon loves Mo Brooks more.
Put that on your signs.
I can see the bumper stickers now.
Josh for Mo.
That's right.
All right. Anyway, hey, you did write about, and I think this was very interesting this week. When it came out, the qualifying for the Democratic Party here in Alabama, Josh, Susan, we have not seen this big a field of Democrats running for office in Alabama since 2010. It has been 16 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great field too. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, you look at the top of the ticket, you know, with Doug Jones and Philip Ensler and Ron Sparks and Jeff McLaughlin. You know, this is a good top of the ticket. But even more impressive was up and down that thing. everywhere where you would think, hey, Democrats should have a shot a little bit in this area or that area, given the swings that we've seen nationally of 10 or so points, with districts moving to Democrats because of Trump's terribleness. I think that they have fielded these candidates there that are respectable people who are, they're attorneys, they're former military folks, they're, respected folks within their communities. They are real candidates on the ballot that people up and down through there are going to want to go out and vote for.
And these people are going to be out there campaigning.
There's 163 of them.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that at least we got some competition going here.
Yeah, and that's what the state needs. Now, the biggest hurdle here is straight ticket voting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Susan, remind you, your reminder.
Okay. In Alabama, you can straight ticket vote, which we've been trying to get rid of. But you can do what's called a double dot. Yes, you can do your straight ticket. But if you want somebody that's in the Democratic Party or vice versa, you can go over and check their name on your ballot, and it will not invalidate your ballot. So say you wanted to vote straight Republican, but as a farmer, you really liked Ron Sparks, vote your straight ticket Republican, and then mark next to Ron Sparks.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't vote straight ticket. If you vote straight ticket, you're a lazy communist.
I know I hate straight ticket, but there are people who like it, but I want them to know they have the option to do that.
I know.
Because there are so many people out there that like to confuse voters over what they can and cannot do with their ballots.
Yep.
What will make their ballot invalid? Please know you can double dot your ballot.
But this is huge that there are that many Democrats that are running for office in a state where it is so gerrymandered that you could hardly imagine it being like this. But listen, the Democrats drew the districts when the Republicans took over in 2010. So
That's right.
anything can happen.
Good ideas, and they've got a lot of them. And I think people are slowly gravitating towards. There's a lot of farmers out there right now who are looking at the ideas that Democrats have put forth and thinking, hey, these are better than these no ideas from the other party over here, or the ideas that are actually bankrupting us. And so I think that there are a lot of people who are starting to take a look around and say, maybe the party affiliation doesn't matter quite as much as what this means for me and my family.
Well, I don't care if they're Republican or Democrats. I would like to see, I don't mind divided government. What I hate is stupid government. And we got so much stupid government because of gerrymandering that as we've said before, they pick the voters and not the voters picking them. But anyway, we've run out of time. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.